Hello, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is fine, having a good time at home. Okay, today is our second class on our new norms, online class. So today, previously you already gone through the code of ethics, code of practice, and code of conduct for the engineers and other professional jobs. Okay, today we continue back. So we want to see some of the examples. What happen if the engineer is not following any kind of ethics and they do some breach the engineering code. Okay, so again I repeat again. So this is Registration of Engineers Act 1967. So the Registration of Engineers Act 1967 stresses that engineer must hold paramount the safety, health and welfare of the society. This is strongly iterated in the Code of the Ethics and Code of the Conduct. So it's quite important. So you need to, I think the previous slide you already saw that as an engineer you need to follow all the code, because if you're not following the code then it's going to be dangerous for the society. Okay, we see problem can arise when these codes are not strictly adherent. Okay, if some of the engineers they try to not follow the conduct, they try to do some shortcuts or some illegal dealings. Okay, so we see what's going to happen. For minor misconduct, the engineer might receive warning from the authority. For us is BEM, Board of Engineer Malaysia. Okay, then the engineer can have their license to practice revoked by the authority. If we got a PH, professional engineer, so your license going to be revoked. So you mean you cannot be use your PE license anymore. So the client and the society will lose their trust and confidence on the engineers. If you do a mistake, a big mistake, then obviously you're going to lose client trust on you. Okay, and many people on the engineers. In a case of corruption, bribery, or misappropriation of fund, the engineer may be brought to court and serve jail if found guilty. So this is a very common. If take any kind of bribery, or we call another name is a corruption. So they be go to the court, and if the court find out that he's guilty, then of course he's going to be served in the jail. For serious cases where life are lost as a result of the wrongdoing of the engineers, they can be appropriately punished by law. If the life because of the mistake or because of the bribe or because of any kind of things that make any life loss, so there be different kind of punishment by the law. Careful, as engineer is not a joke. So the most important you need to be integrity, then strictly follow the engineer's code. Okay, so one of the biggest tragedy and a very good lesson learned for our engineers, that it happened in our country. Okay, so you can search in your net and so on December 11 December 1993 at 1:30 p.m. one of the three 12-story block at Highland Towers in Hulu, Selangor collapsed due to landslide following 10 days of continuous rainfall. Okay, from there you can see that this is a very serious case. 40 people lost their life. Just imagine 40 people lost of their life due to the tragedy. So estimated loss resulting from the tragedy is around 184 million, and over 1,000 people from other two blocks were left homeless. So this is the condominium. So this is the collapse condominium. You see one condominium is collapsed straight away. So just imagine what happened. So we see next, what happened this collapse. Okay, just we put a summary. So we see what's the cause of the tragedy for the collapse of the tower. Behind the towers was a steep hill with a stream called East Creek flowing westward. Okay, it was diverted by the project developer by means of a pipe culvert to flow northwards across the hill slope directly behind the towers. Then the stream would have flown harmless to the south of the Highland Tower, had been directed to flow south following its natural course. This tragedy is one good example of people messing around with Mother Nature. 10 days of continuous rainfall has bettered that already existing situation. So on 11 December 1983, 1:30 p.m., the landslide occurred, killing 48 people. They changed some of the flow so that the hill slope, so it caused a big problem. But we see more details. So what real thing happened? Why they're doing this, and what's the mistake, or what's the other miss or illegal doing and for that particular event? Okay, defender highlight. So this court will become a big case. So it already bring to the court. So that from the court, so they want to find out who's the fault and what happened actually. Okay, from here, this is some summary. So developer, draftman, engineers, just imagine engineers. So you cannot escape. So this thing happened. Engineer also involved. Okay, then this is a finance. This is a local authority and so on. Okay, we see what's verdict on the engineers. What happened? You just imagine this is a court. So although this is from the court, they already come a verdict for the engineer. The engineer was held liable in the negligence and nuisance for, you see, not taking into account the hill or slope behind the towers, not having designed and constructed a foundation to cater for the lateral loads of a landslide, or alternatively to have ensured that the adjacent hill slope was stable. Number 3, not having implemented the approved drainage system. And finally, concluding with the first and the second defendant to obtain a certificate of fitness without fulfilling sufficient condition. You see how many negligence that done by the engineer. So because of this negligence, around 400 uh, 40 people lost their life, and a big problem, and 1,000 people without home because of this negligence by the engineers. So finally, the judge condemning the attitude of the engineer. I have reiterated my strong sentiments against this type of attitude of professionals whose only consideration is to safeguard their own interests rather than their duty. See, the judge become very disappointed with the professionals, engineers, who are supposed to be safeguard for others, but he just to be safeguard their own interests only. An obligation to those closely affected and the public on which so much faith and reliance are placed on them to carry out their professional duties. I need not elaborate further except to remind this defendant that he has to live out the rest of his life knowing truly well that he had contributed to the tragedy of Highland Towers. You see how serious in the case if an engineer is not following the code or neglects his duty. So as engineer, not to say you just know how to calculate or you know how to the theory, but you need to know how to do it in the real life, to apply in a real life, and must be very careful and not any mistake is carried out. Okay, we see some of other examples that's due to the negligence of the engineers. See what happened. So this is, I think, the recent one. Terengganu Stadium collapsed June 2009 and again in February 2013. You see how the collapse. Suppose if an engineer or the person who doing this follow all the code operatives, everything, I don't think so is going to be happen like this, because such a material structure calculation if done in correct manner, it can be safe. Okay, you see how the things. Okay, this is other cases that happen in our country due to the failure of engineer. So on a Jaya shopping mall collapse May 2009. So okay, so this actually they want to destroy the shopping mall, but some are negligence, some are mistake. they did some of, because they normally they put some explode so that they can explode the thing, but they're not following the real practice, the exploration to be parked, how many exploration and so on. But it's a collapse earlier before the start. Okay, then second is the Penang Second Bridge collapse in June 2013. Again, collapse the bridge. Then Penang Jetty tragedy, July 1988. Okay, so this issue not only happened in our country, this failure of the engineers, but it's happening around the world. So we see some of the example. So one of the best example I can show is the engine failure at the Titanic itself. Okay, so Titanic itself is a big tragedy for engineering failure. For that time, they suspected the main cause of the failure is the material of the ship itself. The material that used the ship is not suitable. So when you go to the ice and so on, so the material getting weak. Then other is the Quebec Bridge, collapsed in Canada. So again, the bridge collapsed. Canada, the largest ever caterpillar bridge in the world. It collapsed twice, once in 1907 and again 1960. The disaster killed reported 80 to 89 workers. Then Tacoma Bridge College 1914 Washington, US was a calamity of the world's third longest suspension bridge back then and had a crucial impact on engineering. It caused the governing of the modeling for the long span bridge in the future. So just imagine. So it's actually had a crucial impact on the engineering. So the impact of the bridge previously when they built the bridge not really considered. So then he make the big collection. Then the Hindenburg airship disaster in 1937 during a docking attempt in New Jersey, USA caused 36 fatalities and the catastrophe marked the end of the airship travel. So this is one of the example where I think the leak of hydrogen and the air is mixed together in the face some of the engineering failure. So it's a disaster, a big disaster. Then the Johannesburg flood in Pennsylvania in 1889. So you just imagine that time also 1889. Heavy rain and failure of an insulated dam lead to the disaster which caused 2,200 reported dead and nearly wiped off the city of Johnstown. So because of the neglected dam, it can cause a city to be wiped off. Okay. Okay, so I think you already saw just now how important the engineers to follow the code, especially the integrity and code of conduct, code of practice, and another one is the code of ethics. Okay, so these all costs very important for as an engineer. You not to be good in subjects, calculations, simulations, others, but you must be very integrity person so that the life can be safe around the society. So the society actually depend on us as engineer, the society or other persons outside. They really depend on the engineers because they are not costing us how you do it, how you come out, how you do it, everything. They just trust us. When you come out design, when you come out anything you come out in the market, they believe the engineer already gone through all the proper document, proper calculation, proper things. Okay, so when the society trusts on us, then we as engineer must do our work in a very trustful and a very integrity part. So I always take one of the part, like a quote of the day, like you see from Warren Buffett. And looking for people to hire, look for three quality: integrity, intelligence, and energy. And if they don't have the first, if they don't have the integrity, the other two will kill you. Okay, so it means if you only have intelligence and energy, it's not enough. You must have the main core, that is integrity. The integrity bring you who are you and the best engineer. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. This is end of our class. So for this code of ethics, I really hope everyone understand on what is code of ethics, code of practice, and code of conduct. So I really hoping that you as a young engineers will follow all the code and don't ever mislead it or breach the code. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day.